Hello.
Hey, hey
Hey,
girl, how are you?
I'm good. Yourself?
I'm good. I'm good. I cannot complain. I cannot complain. Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. I had to think about it for a second. Like, am I okay? Am I good? Am I great? But I'm good. I am. I'm good. And how are you? How's things? How's
I'm
everything?
good, doing good. God is moving in some mighty ways in my life, so I'm just excited to be stepping in to what He's
Come
calling me
on.
to. So this is an exciting time for me in the ministry.
That is good. That is good. And I'm glad that you even mentioned that because we've known each other for some years, right?
Yes.
And I have had the privilege to sit and talk with you on many different occasions. And just watching you, even now, what you got going on, and just watching you from then to now, your story from then to now, just that transitioning has been blessing me. Like I'm just looking at like, look at God move. Like,
Girl,
and
don't
so
give me the
I'm
crying already, honey. Oh, child.
girl, for real, because just watching, like, it's like how we watch our kids and they hit different milestones. You know what I mean? It's like that. Like you're proud and you're excited. Like, oh, they can walk now. Oh, they can talk now. Oh, they running. Like, you know what I'm saying? And just to see how you've transitioned from then to now, just mentally, spiritually, all of that. Like, I love watching you on social media and I just love listening to your stories. I love listening to you speak and sing because we know you can sing too. So,
That's right.
so I enjoy it. So I actually now I know a little bit about you, but I want to give you the opportunity to just tell the people a little bit about you or about your story or a different phase in your life from back then to versus to now. Like where have you come from?
Okay, so I'm a girl that's from Leesville, Louisiana, a small town. I was born in New Orleans, so my dad's side of the family is there. I ended up moving to North Carolina looking for love in all the wrong places because I ended up married, going
Come
through a
on.
divorce. And during that time of my divorce is when God really began to do something in my heart. I had been in a broken marriage. It wasn't a good marriage. And at the time of our separation, I was going to do one or two things. Either I was going to run into the arms of another man or I was going to get at the feet of Jesus. So during
Mm,
that separation, I chose to get at the feet of Jesus. And I began
mhm.
to ask him, why did my life look the way that it looked? And
That's
so
the question.
through that thing, he began to show me how I ended up in some of the situations. Earlier on, I learned that I was dealing with a broken heart.
Mm,
My father wasn't there like he was supposed to. My mother wasn't there like she was supposed to. So I always grew up feeling unloved and unwanted. So everything
mm.
that I did and every decision that I made, it came from that broken place. But during that
Yeah.
time of my separation and divorce and prior to that, I began to learn about that broken heart. And so God has just been taking me on this journey, healing my heart, and a lot of things have birthed since then. So I'm just excited about that.
Wow, wow. And that is like and I know that's not even like the full detail of it, but just that alone, like especially when you were speaking of trying to find love in all the wrong places. Because a lot of times us as women, we're very emotional creatures, right? So a lot of times however we're feeling or however our childhood was, whatever trauma we may have gone through, whatever it was, it always seems to find its way to our adult womanhood.
Yes.
So you you know what I mean. No matter what have so if we felt unloved, or if we felt neglected, or whatever the case may have been, a lot of times when we get older because we weren't taught or because we lacked that, that's where we end up trying to fill that void and we're trying to fill that space. So with you saying that you we're looking for love in all the wrong places, we tend to do that a lot. We tend to do that a lot. So the thing is that so you're saying that you have the choice to either fall into another man or fall to the feet of Jesus. How did you make that decision? Because a lot of times it takes women multiple times of going to the wrong man, going to the next man, marrying two, three, four times, like over. It's a like repeated cycle. So how did you not fall into that repeated cycle?
So at that time, I had been going to this ministry that begins to talk to me about the broken places. So I knew I had
Mm,
some broken places. And in that moment, I knew I wanted something different with my life. I wanted to
mm,
know why I started to continue to go through those same cycles of feeling unloved, rejected, and unwanted. And I wanted something different this time. And I knew what I was doing prior to was not working. So because I
right.
knew wasn't working, I just made the decision, hey, I'm going to get at his feet. And this, oh, come on. This time I am going to allow him to teach me
Hmm.
because I had been trying things on my own and it wasn't working. And so when you want something different, you have to do something different. And this time, the
Absolutely.
different thing, although I had been in church, the difference this time was that I was at his feet and I was asking questions. Because in the
Hmm.
old times, people would say, don't question God, but that's a lie from the pit of hell because God know
Right.
everything about me. He know everything about my situation and he had the
Hmm.
answers. So I got at his feet. I made that choice because I wanted a different result.
Mhm. And that's amazing, and it's funny because you're saying, "Don't ask why," because we tend to fall when adversity comes, we tend to have that question, "Why me? Why is this happening? Why did that happen?" Or, you know what I mean? So we tend to ask that question, "Why?" But like you said, like, it's if you don't ask the question, how are you gonna get an answer? Like, and, even when we teach our children, like, if you wanna know the answer, ask the question. Like,
That's right.
don't just assume that I feel this way. Don't just assume that the answer is going to be this or that. Actually ask, and then we'll give you an honest answer. We'll give you an honest answer. So, okay, so you now I know you have kids. You have two kids, right?
Yes, I have a 22-year-old son and a 15-year-old daughter.
22. Where he come from? Where he come from?
He a grown man now, girl.
Good Lord, 22. Oh my God, that is awesome. Okay, so you have a 22-year-old, you have a 15-year-old, you have one boy, one girl. So, how did or did they even play a role in during your adversity and when all of this was going on with your marriage and going through divorce and when what you were going through mentally and spiritually?
So, of course, my kids did play a role because I knew if didn't nobody else love me, that my kids loved me and they needed
Yeah,
me. And
yeah.
sometimes when we are in the midst of adversity, we don't really even understand all that our children are soaking up and receiving. It is during the separation when my eyes began to open to how
Mm.
much my children, oh, come on, were affected by the things that I had gone through.
Absolutely.
So,
Yeah.
another part of my story is that I was an adulterous woman. I actually cheated on my husband and I went through verbal abuse. So part of the verbal
Wow.
abuse pushed me into adultery, which that's a whole nother story.
Mhm.
But just feeling unwanted, unrejected. Remember, I grew up feeling that way, so
Right,
that
right.
spirit of rejection was still in me, and so
Absolutely.
by him rejecting me, it sent me out there.
Yeah, yeah.
And so during that time of the separation, I didn't realize that my kids had gone through some things and all of the yelling and the screaming and the different things like that, how
Mm.
it affected my children. So my son was
Yeah.
greatly affected by it and my daughter was greatly affected by it because the truth is, if I'm being honest and we're going to keep it real,
Absolutely. Keep it
I
real.
wanted him back
Absolutely.
because he actually left, but I wanted him back. Because I was so broken, I didn't know that I needed
Mhm.
to be away from that. But as I
Mhm.
went through that process, and as God began to heal me, and He began to show me how I ended up in adultery. First of all, it's a generational curse. My mother, my father, my grandparents, all of them were
Wow.
caught up in adultery. I used to
Wow.
watch stuff with adultery, the have and have not, so I was still feeding that spirit. And so
Yeah.
just different things like that. So God began to show me that. But during that separation, when I would always ask my son, do you want him to come back? He would tell me no. So then God had me to hone on and hold up. It's the reason why
Mm.
he don't want him back. So
Yeah.
it's many things that took place and how they were affected. And so I knew that I had to be the one to break those generational curses. I had to be the one to
Facts.
break those cycles. And so I
Absolutely.
was determined I got to get better. So then in turn, I can teach my kids. So,
Exactly.
and I'm still in that battle. I'm still learning. I'm still overcoming. Every time I overcome, I can teach my kids different. So I sit my kids down. I have conversations with them. Look, this is a generational spirit in the family, and we got to get rid of it. So yes, they played a big part in it.
Come on, absolutely. And that's what generational curses, man, they can mess you up. And if the thing about it is that if you're not at a place mentally and spiritually yourself, then it's hard to even recognize that it's a generational curse. It's hard to even recognize what's really going on and what the enemy is really trying to do, to even realize the only solution is for you to get it together so that way you can stop that generational curse. Because a lot of things come from, that's why it's good too to know where you come from, because a
That's right.
lot of things
Yes, Lord.
because a lot, come on now. Because a lot, could you be like, why I feel this way, or why I'm always angry, or why I'm always sad, or why I feel depressed, like, you know what I'm saying? But it's good to know where you come from, because you never know, you know what I'm saying? Because what a lot of times what happened back then with our parents and their parents and so on and so forth, it's just a repeated
Cycle.
cycle. Absolutely. A repeated cycle. Absolutely. So okay, so I know that, so adversity is like something that everybody deals with. Like it doesn't matter if it comes with, with self adversity, or the adversity of feeling accomplished, where you feel like you should be somewhere, but not there at the time that you feel like you're supposed to be there, if that makes
Hmm.
sense. You know what I mean? So, but so the question is, how do you mentally get into a headspace where you do not allow the negative thoughts and where you're at that moment to determine and direct your path to your future, and to almost block your blessings? Because if you stay stuck in where you're at, then you can really block the blessings that are waiting for you, because you so, stuck in where you're at and you're dwelling on your current situation. So what are some things? I know that you said, going to God, but what did you do? Like, did you do, because some people are like, I work out, I do this, I do that. What else? What were you doing during that time to mentally get yourself? You were thriving spiritually, but what did you do mentally to even get to that place of switching that mindset? Because it's really a trigger and a switch that has to go off.
So one of the things is I had to get rid of shame and condemnation, embarrassment, because I was
Mm,
the one that stepped out of the marriage. So
yeah.
mentally, I had to know that I was forgiven. Like, we all mess up
Yes.
because condemnation comes to keep us down, to keep us in the guilt, to keep us in the shame, and he'll make you feel like you're the only one that done something wrong. So I
Right.
had to battle and overcome condemnation. So once I
Wow.
got through the condemnation, and then I began to learn who I was. Like, who am I? Because during the
Mhm.
marriage, I lost my voice too. Because there would be times where he would say, "Shut up, I don't want
Mhm.
to hear you."
Wow.
So I had to overcome the condemnation and then regain my voice. Because in the
Yeah.
beginning, like when I was in the shipyard, I'd be walking around singing all the time and stuff. But slowly but surely,
Yeah.
as I was going through that verbal abuse and stuff in the marriage, I lost my voice and I stopped singing. And
Wow.
so once I got through the condemnation, because the enemy will beat you up with the things that you've done in your past,
Absolutely.
but you cannot
Absolutely.
allow that to dictate who you are, because we are not what we do. My story
Mm.
is a part of my story, but that's not who I am, because I am a
Absolutely.
daughter of
Absolutely.
Christ and he redeemed me. And so once I got through that condemnation, but if you walk in condemnation, you won't know that. So mentally, I had to make that shift. You got to know in your mind,
Yes.
baby, you ain't the only one that been there. You ain't the only
Come
one
on.
that done wrong. And you can know
Absolutely.
the thing that I did is in the past. I am no longer doing it. So I chose to get out of that
Mhm.
condemnation. I chose to forgive myself. I chose to ask God for forgiveness. And then I made up in my mind, hey, I'm going to gain my voice back. And so I
Yeah.
got me a vocal coach. So that was one of the things that I did in order to gain my voice back. I got a vocal coach, and I be just
Mm.
talked to God about it. It was amazing how everything just began to flow. I began to sing on a worship team at church, and so I began to gain my voice back. And once I
Yes.
gained my voice back, then the speaking part of my voice, I started stepping out. I
Yeah.
started doing different teachings online and different things like that. So that was how I just made choices. And sometimes I would
Yes.
procrastinate, but I kept pressing. I don't care how many times I would start stuff and stop stuff. The thing is, I never quit, because
Yes.
there's an empty feeling when you're not doing what you were created to do. And when I would
Yeah.
start to feel that, I said, God, I got to do something. And
Yeah.
so that's how I was able to overcome that adversary and keep moving forward and not let it hold me down. It's all about a choice, because we get to choose our life.
Come on.
One pastor said life is choice driven, so we
Mhm.
get to choose. And so I just kept making choices, and no matter how many times, like I said, I procrastinated, I would start, stop, but I was determined. You got to keep going no matter what.
Absolutely. You just said like a whole mouthful. OMG. Like you just said a whole, I don't even know where to start. Like you just said a whole mouthful. Like for one, the whole forgiveness and forgiving yourself. Like women, we don't even know what that looks like. You know what I mean? Because and that's why and I believe that that is why we when we do find ourselves in adversity, a lot of times we get stuck in that spot. And I think and I believe that that is part of the reason why, because when we if we're not forgiving ourselves and we have the mindset and we're saying, dang, why I do that? Or dang, I shouldn't have did that. Or I shouldn't have, why? Like we just beating ourselves up. You don't have to beat yourself. The world is going to beat you up enough.
Come on.
You don't have to beat yourself up no more, because the world's going to do it enough for you, me, and everybody else. So, but we tend to get stuck because of the simple fact that we're beating ourselves up and we're questioning why we do this, or how we can do this, or whatever the case may be. So forgiving yourself, that is something that is very, very powerful. And I believe that if women learn to just forgive, if you once you forgive yourself and go to God and ask God for forgiveness, whatever everybody else got to say,
Come
whatever
on.
everybody else got going on, that's you. I ain't worried about it. I've forgiven myself. God forgave me. On to the next. Like I ain't worried about it. You know what
Deuces.
I mean? Deuces. Like, you know what I mean? So I think that is very, very profound and very powerful. And then also the whole thing about choices. Basically, what you're saying and what I'm agreeing with is that we have the choice. The choice is yours. The choice is ours. It's mine. So I can choose whether not I'm just gonna sit here and I'm gonna be like, look, I'm in this situation. I'm feeling this way. And this is just is what it is. And I don't know how I'm gonna pay these bills, and I don't know what in the world gonna happen tomorrow, and I'm just stuck. But you have to make a choice, like you said, to make a move, like make a choice to do something on your part. Yes, God is going to do what he does, but faith without works is dead. So therefore, if I'm just sitting here doing nothing, like God's like, okay, so you must not. I mean, I don't understand what you're trying to do. So I think it's very powerful that you took the step and the choice to go and get your coach and allow him or her to help guide you through that, because I went through a phase myself of, I call it being muted. I was muted for a very, very long time, and it was because of childhood adversity, childhood trauma. And we have to remember that it does not we cannot and it does not define you, like you were talking about. It doesn't define you, and it doesn't determine. God doesn't say, oh, you made this mistake, so I'm gonna cut off a blessing.
Come on.
I'm gonna change your blessing up a little bit
Come
because
on.
because you made this mistake. You know what I'm saying? Or you did, or you said this, or you sinned this way. So I'm gonna take this blessing back and I'm gonna switch it out and give you this one. No, what is for you, and God's
Amen.
promises never fail. Like it
Amen.
just is what it is. You have to forgive yourself.
So let me make a point real quick um,
Absolutely,
about the condemnation piece. You cannot
absolutely.
allow. a person to define your story, right? So a lot of times we try to think about what other people are going to think about us. But
Mhm,
we got to
mhm.
remember that everybody has a story. You got to be
Exactly.
bold and confident in your own story to not allow other people to dictate your story. Own your story.
Absolutely.
You know, I grew up with
Absolutely.
two drug addicted parents, and for a long time, I didn't want to say it because I didn't want to hurt my parents.
Mhm,
But the truth
mhm.
is, it's my story, and I get
And
to
that's part
tell
of
it.
your story. Come
And
on.
so we all have got to learn when you're overcoming adversity, you got to learn to embrace your story. Embrace
Yes.
everything about your story because that is the very
Absolutely.
thing that is going to help someone. If I never committed adultery, I can't help nobody else that did it. If I never felt
Exactly.
unloved, unwanted, and rejected, I can't help nobody. Guess what? A whole
Exactly.
ministry was birthed out of that. So, what the enemy meant for our bad, God takes our story and turn it around for the good.
Come on, girl.
And so we can't allow people to make us feel bad because
Mhm.
that's when the condemnation and the shame come in. But guess what? We all got a story. And somebody out
Everybody.
there, matter of fact, I'm writing a song now. Somebody is waiting on you to step into your call so that they can
Mhm.
be healed. Because
Yes.
healing is attached. Come on. Oh, come on. Healing is attached to all of our stories. But
Yes,
the enemy tries
absolutely.
to muzzle us, and that's why he tried to silence you, and that's why he tried to silence me because he knew
Mhm.
once they get a hold and once they start talking,
Come
that
on.
healing and people are going to be getting free. So the enemy
Yes.
will try to shut you down with shame and mute your voice so that
Mhm.
the purpose of God cannot go forth in your life. So I wanted to add
Absolutely.
that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Girl, you about to have church all up in here. Like, on, like, for real. Like, I definitely, definitely agree. Like, come on. Everybody has a story. Everybody has a
And I'm
story.
big, girl. In church, I used to love people testimony stories, girl. I want to
Yes.
hear how they
Yeah.
overcame. I've always
Yeah.
been resilient.
Yes. Mhm.
And one of the things is I used to ask God, is something wrong with me? Because I would bounce back quick. Girl, I used to
Mhm.
think, something wrong with me because stuff would
Right.
affect me, but I would keep it moving. But at the
Right.
time, I didn't know what the word
That's
resilient
that
meant.
strength, girl. You just got that strength
Yeah,
in you.
I
You
didn't
just
know I
keep
was
going.
resilient until I began to really study my story. And I said, oh,
Mhm.
that's resiliency. It's nothing wrong with me. But for a while,
Wow,
I'd be
yeah.
like, you get over stuff real quick. But God gave me that resiliency because He knew I needed that.
Mhm. Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. And so, and I just said like that's part of your strength. So where are you finding the strength to bounce back, to keep going? Like where's that strength? Where that strength coming from? Because somebody watching like I need that.
It's
I
been
need that
all
energy.
God. Like it's been all Him. I can't take. I honestly I can't take no credit
I believe
because
it.
I've been like
I
this
believe
all
it.
my life, and I used to question why do I bounce back so easily. But I know
Mhm.
now because of the voice that He gave me, I had to be resilient because
Yeah.
so many people are attached to me. I'm learning now, so I had
Mhm.
to be able to bounce back so that I can show other people, hey, you can take a licking and keep on ticking. Because a lot of people say, "Girl, you don't look like what you've been through." I be say, if they only knew, if they only knew. But God put that resiliency in me because as a little girl, I always knew that it was something that I had to offer this world. But at
Absolutely.
that time, I didn't understand it because of the situation I was in. But as I began to break down my story, as I began to ask God the questions, then I found out this is why. And I needed that for today because I got a whole
Absolutely.
lot of
For
women
times such
that I
as
got to go
this.
get.
Yes, yes, yes. And then
Ooh.
it's crazy because we get so caught up in our phones and we get so caught up in watching TikToks and watching, social media, scrolling through social media, and we looking at other people and they look like they got it all together and they look like, they look like they don't have a story. But what's crazy is their Facebook story is not the real story. Like
Yeah.
it is not real. Like, you know what I'm saying? And I'm not gonna say that everybody, you know what I'm saying, is posting false things, but the purpose of editing something, the purpose of, putting the little what they call it when you take a picture and the filters on the
Filters.
pictures, you know what I mean? Like the purpose of that is to make it look better, to make it look good, you know what I mean? But at some point you have to be able and willing to allow the people to see the scars, allow the people to see the real you, allow the people, because it is going to bless someone and someone else is waiting for you to unveil it so that way they can be like, I'm glad she took her thing off first because I've been waiting for somebody to take this
Yes.
off. You know what I mean?
Yes.
But yeah, so what gave you, so I know you have resilience, um, but what helped you to even want to try again? Because sometimes we can get so sucked in our situation that we're just like, I'm just gonna give up. I forget it. Like I'm just
Giving up
done.
was
I'm
never an
tired.
option for me.
I
Never.
know that's right.
It was
I know
never an
that's right.
option because I always knew, like I said, God is, even though I didn't always do right, right. I always knew God had his hand on me. So giving up was never an option because it was always me and God. Even when,
Mhm.
growing up, not feeling love, feeling unwanted, I always knew that God was with me. So no matter what I faced, no matter what I went through, giving up was never an option. So you have
I
to
know
make
that's
up in
right.
your mind that no matter what you face, no matter what you go through, you got to make up in your mind that giving up is not an option, because what I went through was only for a moment in time. That thing no longer exists. And if it still exists, guess where it only
Exactly.
exists at? It only exists in your soul. And so it exists in your soul until you choose
Exactly.
to heal that area of your life. So everything
Yes.
that you have faced, it no longer exists. Right.
Yes.
And so for
Yes.
those women's hearts that are still broken, that are still plagued by their past, it only exists because you allow it to exist and you have not chosen to heal. So giving
Choice.
up is never an
Again.
option. It's all about
Mhm.
choice.
Mhm. Absolutely. Absolutely. And you were getting ready to flow right into it. Yeah. Because I know. You were getting ready to flow right into it because my the last thing that I wanted to have you do was I wanted you to speak to the very spirit and the very soul of that woman who feels like they just want to give up, who just feels like they're just overcome by their situation, by their childhood. They feel like, their past has overtaken them. I want you to speak to that woman and let her know and encourage her and just tell her what she can do, what to expect, because you glowing right now. Tell her how to get there.
All right, sis, listen. I want you first to be okay, right? It's
Yes.
okay. Everything that you have ever gone through, every experience that you have ever walked in your life has shaped your story, and it is
Yes.
okay. So now, when you were a child, you could not control what you went through. But now
Mhm.
that you are a grown woman, right? Now that you're an adult, now that you're
Yeah.
mature, as they say, you have a choice. So I want you to make the choice to say, I am going to heal. I am going to overcome everything that occurred in my life that came to kill something in me, destroy something in me, and steal something from me. Because we know the scriptures say
Yes.
the enemy comes to kill,
Yes.
steal, and destroy,
Kill, steal, and
right?
destroy.
So
Yes.
all of those experiences, guess what, sis? You're gonna have to go back and you're gonna have to begin to unearth them. And what I mean by that is you're gonna have to begin to bring them up out of your soul so that you can
Yes.
heal from them. And once we heal, then we make better choices. Because I always used to say broken people don't make good choices, right? And
Mhm.
so when
Mhm.
you choose to heal, now guess what? Let me give a side note right real quick. It's gonna be painful, sis. So part
Come
of
on.
your problem is why you're still in the situation that you're in, because you are afraid to experience the pain. Because the things that you didn't face the first time, now you're gonna have to go back and face them. But guess what?
Mhm.
On the other side of that pain is joy. On the other side of that pain is
Yes.
freedom. And
Yes.
you won't
Yes.
get to the other
Yes.
side until you begin to deal with those things.
Make the choice to
Take the
deal with it.
responsibility for what you did. Because guess what? Everything that happened to you, even when you were a child, it was your choice and how you responded. But as children, we're not equipped. with the right tools in order to respond properly. So let yourself
Yes.
off the hook. You couldn't respond properly as a child, but now as an adult, you get the chance to respond properly. So some of the
Yes.
practical things that you can do, first of all, forgive yourself. You have to
Yes.
forgive yourself. You can get a notebook and write down all of the experiences that you have. Be led by Holy Spirit, because sometimes that stuff can be very overwhelming, and you don't want the enemy to come in and attack you during that process of
Absolutely.
trying to heal. So be led by him. Okay. So sometimes, even now while I'm speaking, something may be triggering, right? Because you'd be like, well, what do I start first? If I'm saying
Hmm.
something right now and a memory pops up or something is triggered in you, that's the area that God wants to deal with first.
Hmm.
So you take
Hmm.
that, you
Yeah.
get before the Lord and say, God, show me my heart. Show me what I need to heal from. Help me to
Yes.
experience what I need to experience so that I can forgive those people. And you just forgive the people one by one. And for some people, girl, you got a long list of forgiveness because you done so many things.
Right.
Because we don't forgive
Exactly.
by the person. That's why you be like,
Yeah.
I thought I had forgave that person, but you forgive by the experience. So every time they did something to violate you, every time they did something to bring offense, you got to go back and uncover those
And
things
forgive
and
that.
deal
Yeah.
with them one by one. And once you begin to deal with them, then your heart is going to be healed more and more, because the truth is our heart is supposed to look like the fruit of the spirit, but we have all this
Mhm.
stuff and this mess in there from the things that have happened. So God wants to get you to that peaceful place. God wants to get
Yes.
you to that joyful place. God wants to get you to that place where you're operating in purpose, but you won't get there until you heal the brokenness.
Right.
So
Exactly.
then some of us need to go to counseling. It's okay.
It's
Sometimes I'm like, I ain't going
okay.
no counseling. I got the
Yeah.
church.
Yeah.
you know
Yeah.
Sometimes you need counseling, God, and therapy, as some of people say.
Yes.
Because sometimes you need those people that are professional to help you walk through, and they'll give you different strategies.
Hmm.
So go get
Absolutely.
counseling. Then you need that inner healing. People that are counselors, you want to get you a good Christian counselor, because they know something about the word. Because at the end of the day, Jesus said he came to heal the brokenhearted in Luke 4 and
Yes.
18, and then
Yes.
in Isaiah 61, 1 through 3, he said, yeah, he came to heal the brokenhearted. So
Yes.
Jesus is the one that ultimately heals our broken heart and
Yes.
allow us to overcome adversity, but he does use the professions in the world to help us as well. And then
Yes.
once you begin to heal, then you got to do some, sis. Like D said earlier,
Let's
faith without
go.
works is dead. Faith without
Yeah.
works is dead. So now that I'm here, what I'm gonna do? Okay, Lord, what you created me to do? What you put me here to do? So that
Right.
was my thing. I started, okay, I know I got a voice, so I got that vocal coaching, like I said, because it ain't coming back just without getting some
Right.
coaching. And
Exactly.
everybody with a gift, everybody with a talent, we got to get trained up in that thing, because sometimes you can have a gift and don't know what to do with it. So
Hmm.
get you some coaching, get you some training, go back to school, whatever it is that you desire to do. Once you overcome that adversity, then it's time to go to work, sis. And if you fight procrastination like I did, what a little Nemo said, just keep swimming, just
Just
keep swimming, just keep swimming.
right.
So
Big facts.
just keep swimming. You gotta just keep going. If you stop, get back up again. If you stop, get back
Exactly.
up again. That's the same thing I did. I got back up again, because things are gonna come to try to stop you. When you try to go
Exactly.
forth in your purpose
Exactly.
and try to do and overcome adversity, guess what? Things are gonna stop you, because the enemy don't want you to overcome. He do not want you to
Exactly.
overcome. So things are gonna continue to happen, but you put a system in place. As things happen, as people offend, as things happen, I'm gonna choose to forgive. So keep your heart pure,
Exactly.
keep your heart clean. And then, girl,
Exactly.
you'll be out here doing things I'm doing, and even more. I'm out here
Doing
now
big things.
doing a Bible study, writing journals, all kinds of things, getting ready to sing and all kinds of stuff.
Right.
So you
Right.
can do it, sis. Just know that you can
Yes.
do it. And also to community. Community is very important. You
Hmm.
got to
Yeah.
find like-minded people that are
Hmm.
doing some of the things that you're doing. Finding these podcasts, get in community, sis.
Yeah.
Stop being
Absolutely.
secluded, because the enemy likes to keep us in seclusion. But
Yes.
there's power in community. So those are some of my
Exactly.
tips.
Come on here. Come on here. Yes. Yes. And yes. Listen, sis, make the choice. Keep going. If she can do it, if he can do it for her, if he can do it for me, he can definitely do it for you. Let's go. I love it. I appreciate you. You blessed me tremendously. I appreciate you. And I know the people enjoyed it. And I know the people appreciate you as well. Please share where they can find you, where they can follow you. Please tell the people about you, what you got going on.
So I am on Facebook as Jennifer Jeanette. I'm also on Facebook as Loving Me Ministries. I'm on YouTube as Jennifer Jeanette, and I'm also on TikTok and Instagram at I am Jennifer Jeanette. I recently wrote a journal, so you can find that on Amazon if I can plug it real quick.
Yeah, go on, girl. Yeah, come on. I'm about to go get that.
So that's a journal
Yes.
that I wrote recently, and that's where you can find me.
Come on. Look at God doing big things in your life. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Awesome. This was awesome. This is amazing. I love you to life. I really, really appreciate you taking the time out to just talk to the women, to talk to me. I appreciate you, and I pray nothing but many blessings to come your way, and I pray nothing but prosperity over everything that you got going on, because it looks like you're doing big things. And so I
Amen.
pray nothing but blessings over that. I appreciate you. Thank you again so much. And until next time, because it will be a next time.
That's
Until next time. Until next time. I appreciate you. Thank you again. Thank you.